And thus, Night 2 and WrestleMania 37 as a whole finally comes to an end. I am tired. I am also very ecstatic after seeing the main event, which is a spoiler. That match was great, but let's go for the show from beginning to end. And we start off with the biggest low point of the night. We started the show off with the Randy Orton versus the Fiend. Randy comes out. They played the video package, and then we see a scene of the Fiend walking through some sort of corridor with it looks like a hellish light screens, and then suddenly he's enveloped in some sort of burning effect that transforms him from the burnt Fiend into the normal Fiend. And then Alexa Bliss enters the ring, and there's suddenly a giant Jack-in-the-Box on right next to the ring. Alexa pulls the lever. It pops open to a pentagram on the hatch, and the Fiend comes out of it. He poses for a bit, and then he jumps into the ring and attacks Randy. Although we don't hear a bell, the match has started. First problem with this match: the Fiend's red light is back. You know that bullshit that they had around the time when around the horrible Seth Rollins feud and when he was Universal Champion. You know, where the ring is just bathed in red light when he wrestles. That crap. We're back to doing that crap again. Even though we'd gone several matches now without that crap, like the Rumble match with Bryan, or the SummerSlam match with Braun, or the Triple Threat with Roman, or all the other Fiend matches where we didn't need that stupid red light. So that's con number one. The match itself is okay for the most part. Randy hits a couple of draping DDTs, but the Fiend no-sells. They go to the outside. He hits the Fiend with his standard side suplex onto the announce table, but the Fiend no-sells it and hits him with a mandible claw. Get back in the ring. Randy throws the Fiend into the box and knocks him down. He attempts to go for the RKO, but the Fiend catches him into a mandible claw. Randy is limp. He has him in the Sister Abigail, gives him the kiss, but before he can hit it, suddenly pyro goes off, like Kane's pyro goes off, but Kane isn't the one entering. Alexa Bliss is now sitting on top of the giant Jack-in-the-Box. The Fiend looks at her, and suddenly the black goo starts pouring down her face. It looks like she's fucking bleeding all over the place. The crowd's chanting holy shit for this. And this, of course, distracts the Fiend. He turns around. RKO. 1, 2, 3. Randy wins. He runs away. Right? The Fiend just gets back up, stares at Alexa. Alexa stares at him. The lights go out. And suddenly the box, the Fiend, and Alexa are gone, and the fans boo. What the hell was that? So, you had a weird, stupid distraction finish. The Fiend, who's been gone for months now, comes back for a match against Randy Orton, and he loses. And we have that stupid red light again. This match wasn't very long either. What the hell was that? What was that crap? I'm not sure if other people disagree with me, but I will say it. I hated this match. This was awful. Like the combination of red lighting and the stupid finish and the short match. What was the point? What? So are we continuing the feud? Is there going to be some tension between Alexa and the Fiend? What the fuck is going on? I don't get this. Anyway, enough with that. Next up, we had the women's tag team title match. Shayna and Nia Jax versus Tamina and Natalya. Match itself is fine for the most part. You know, there's a lot of good stuff from Shayna Baszler, who does some really good submission maneuvers here and there. At one point, Nia Jax dives onto both Natalya and Tamina, but it only from the second rope, but it only gets a 2 count. Tamina tries several times to hit a body slam onto Nia Jax and finally hits it, but it only gets a 2 count. Then Tamina tries to go for the Superfly Splash again, but she misses and is knocked out of the ring. And she tags in Natalya and is then knocked out of the ring. Natalya is then in control. She then doesn't notice that Shayna has been tagged in. She knocks Shayna down, knocks Nia down, locks in the sharpshooter, but of course Nia's not the legal woman. Shayna gets in, locks in the Kirifuda clutch. Natalya passes out, and the champions retain. Match itself was okay. A bit, there were some botches here and there, some moves that didn't look right, particularly. And sorry to say it, I have to echo the chamber with saying that it was mostly Nia doing something wrong, but yeah. I wasn't a massive fan of them keeping the belts on Shayna and Nia again, because again, I just don't want this team to continue. I want Shayna to go off and join the singles division. But yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of that. Fan of the result, but the match itself was okay, I guess. But what I was okay with was the next match. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn comes out, and man, I have missed the crowd as well, and one thing I've missed is listening to them singing along to Sami Zayn's theme song. That was nice. What was also nice, Logan Paul comes out and they boo the shit out of him. Like, they just hate Logan Paul. And they pop massively for Kevin Owens when he comes out. Anyway, the match starts. Sami runs to Kevin Owens and he hits him immediately with a pop-up powerbomb, but Sami rolls out of the ring. Kevin Owens is mostly in control there, but then Sami is able to turn it around with a kick. They get to the outside and Sami hits a massive brain buster. I think it was a brain buster, or it was a no, it was probably an exploder suplex or something on the apron. But then Kevin Owens starts pulling out old moves, like he hits the pump handle neck breaker where he drops someone on his. He teases the package pile driver, but Sami gets out of it and hits him with what Michael Cole initially calls a blue thunder bomb, but then Corey Graves says, "It's a Michinoku driver, Michael. I just saved you from being complained about on the internet." Kevin Owens knocks Sami down, goes up top, hits the frog splash, but Sami kicks out. Oh, and by the way, throughout this match, they keep cutting to Logan Paul, who's sitting at ringside, and all he does is this. Throughout the entire match. It doesn't look like he really cares. So why the fuck is he there? Anyway, they get to the top. They fight on the top rope for a little bit. I think Sami tries to go for a superplex, but then Kevin Owens hits a fisherman suplex off the top rope. But it gets a 2 count. Sami then hits a proper blue thunder bomb and then hits a brain buster, but only gets a 2 count. Kevin Owens is on a roll then, goes for the stunner, but Sami throws him into the corner, hits a haluva kick, but then similar to their match at Battleground from 2016, Sami thinks, "Nah, I'm going to go for a second one." That's a mistake, because Kevin Owens is able to counter it. He picks Sami up. Says, "You brought this on yourself." Hits the stunner. 1, 2, and 3. Kevin Owens is victorious. He stands tall. Then Logan Paul comes in, says something to Sami, and then congratulates Kevin. Sami Zayn complains that he's supposed to be his guest of honor, and Logan shoves him, and the fans boo the shit out of him. He then raises Kevin's hand, and I am just sitting there thinking, stunner him. Kevin's is about to shake Logan's hand, hits the stunner on Logan, and the fans are rejoicing. Good job, Kevin. And the match itself was excellent. I thought it was a lot of great stuff and some good callbacks back to their previous matches. I do wish it had been given a little bit more time or some higher stakes than just this stupid documentaries thing, or stop cutting to Logan Paul all the time. But I really enjoyed this match. So, yeah. That was that. Next up, we had the United States Championship match. Riddle versus Sheamus. This match is very hard hitting. Hitting and a lot of counters back and forth. Here. One counter I remember in particular is they fight to the outside. Riddle does a springboard into the ring and gets immediately hit by Sheamus's new pump knee that he's been doing. Like, it's sort of like the Brokey, but he does it with a knee instead, but only gets a 2 count. They go to the top rope. Riddle knocks down Sheamus, hits the floating bro, but only gets a 2 count. And then there's one part of the match that wasn't that good, and that's they go to the top rope. It looks like Riddle is trying for something, but then Sheamus counters it, gets him in position for the white noise on the top rope, but slips and they go down to the ground. So Sheamus just hits a normal white noise, then goes up top and hits a diving knee onto Riddle, but only gets a 2 count. Then Riddle fights back. He goes for a springboard moonsault, and Sheamus catches him in mid-air, right on the chin with a bro kick. 1, 2, 3, and new United States Champion, Sheamus. For the 3rd time in his career, in fact. So yeah, I really enjoyed this match too. I admit I'm a little tired, so I might have forgotten some important details in this match, but I really, from what I remember, I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of good stuff. A lot of good moments, a lot of good counters, and... Oh yeah, and after the match we see that hit actually made Riddle bleed, because he was bleeding from the mouth as Sheamus is celebrating with the title. So yeah, congratulations to Sheamus. Next up, the Intercontinental Championship Nigerian drum fight. And the answer to what a Nigerian drum fight is? It's a street fight. It's just a street fight. There are some drums scattered around, but I would like to point one thing out about this match. Despite this being a Nigerian drum fight, I think at only one point, I think Apollo is thrown into a drum, and that's it. That's the only time they use the drums. And for some reason, there's kendo sticks lying around and a freaking Chinese gong. And it barely gets any use. Anyway. The match is mostly focused on kendo sticks being used by both Big E and Apollo. At one point, Apollo looks to do sort of a concerto, but with the steel steps. Like he takes the bottom steel steps on one hand, puts Big E on it, and then it's about to drop the upper steel stairs on top of Big E, but Big E moves out of the way. Big E is able to counter one move on the apron and hit a Uranagi, hit Apollo with a Uranagi onto the lower steel steps. Then Big E gets a table and gets that in the ring. Tries to set up, but Apollo is able to counter it. Gets Big E onto the table. Goes for a frog splash, but Big E moves out of the way and he comes crashing through the table. Big E then gets him up, hits the big ending, but before he can go for the pinfall, freaking Dabba-Kato, or Babatunde, or whatever you want to call him, because the announcers because on commentary they say who the hell is that? Because apparently we're supposed to forget that we've ever seen him before. He knocks Big E down, hits a massive choke slam, pulls Apollo onto Big E. 1, 2, 3. And new Intercontinental Champion. I did say that this was Apollo's last chance. So apparently they decided, we're going to give him the title, and he's getting a bodyguard. So I guess Babatunde slash Dabba-Kato slash whatever they want to call him now is involved. Okay. Sure. Match itself was a bit underwhelming. It's like for a street fight there wasn't that much they did, and the match felt a little bit short. So, yeah, there wasn't much we could do with that. What happened next? We had the Hall of Fame ceremony, of course. That happened after that, yeah. It's time to talk about the Raw Women's Championship match. I think you can tell by how I'm reacting how this match went. I mean, it was very back and forth throughout the match. A lot of counters. Rhea Ripley did look strong here. Asuka got some nice hits here and there. There was one really nice spot where they were on the apron and Asuka hit this sick-looking DDT off the apron onto the floor. That was pretty sick. Towards the end, Asuka tries to get the Asuka lock, but Rhea counters it. Asuka tries to swing her arm, but Rhea catches it. Hits the Riptide. 1, 2. Yeah. I had hope. I know this makes a lot more sense. I know they want to make up for what happened to Rhea Ripley last year, which I did say was a mistake to have Charlotte win that match. I did, and it makes sense to build a new star. Asuka's held that title for a while now. I know, but still, 3-0. No, 0-3. 0-4 if you count the pre-show. That's Asuka's WrestleMania record right now. And I had such hope because we just had 2 title changes before this match happened. And one thing I didn't mention about Big E was that he was accompanied by the person who sings his new theme song, and Rhea Ripley got an entrance with someone singing her theme song. So I was hoping that meant, since Big E lost, and usually whoever gets music and gets live music when they enter the stage usually lose, I hope that was what was going to happen, but no. No, Asuka loses again. This is the 3rd time she's lost at WrestleMania. 4th if you count the pre-show. It's frustrating to me. I just wanted her to win once. Just once at WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley could have bounced back from that. I guess I don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't want Rhea Ripley to do well. I do. I do want Rhea Ripley to do well. It's just... It's Asuka. That's the big thing. It's Asuka. I'm such a massive Asuka fan that I just want her to win. I wanted her to get a win at WrestleMania. But again, she's left off. She's losing again and again and again and again and again. I know it's only 4 if you count the pre-show, but still, it's really frustrating to me that she keeps fucking losing. Then we have a segment with the hosts, Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan. By the way, at the beginning of the show, I got to see a sight I never thought I would see. Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan in pirate gear. That was weird. But anyway, they come out to talk about the eventful evening, but then Bayley interrupts them. Austin says that it's her moment, she wants some pyro, she gets that, and then she's interrupted by the Bella Twins. Yeah, I think most of us were sitting there waiting for an interruption, but it's the Bella Twins. They punch Bayley down and toss her down the ramp, and that's all she gets. Poor Bayley. Left off. She had such a big year in 2020, and now here comes WrestleMania, and she's treated like a joke. But to get a more positive thing here, time to talk about the main event. The triple threat match for the Universal Championship. Anyway, the match begins. Immediately, Roman Reigns knocks down Daniel Bryan. Edge and Roman start fighting a little bit, and then Jey Uso immediately gets involved and starts knocking everyone down with super kicks. But then, I think either Bryan or Edge is able to knock Roman down. Edge then gets Jey onto some steel steps and hits the execution. Jey Uso is now out of the match, essentially. You have medical professionals getting in there and getting and taking Jey Uso out of the match, and now it's back to a normal matchup. We get some nice battle between Daniel Bryan and Edge for a little bit. Edge counters a kick into the Edge-O-Matic. Bryan hits the top rope drop kick. Then Roman comes in, and they start brawling a bit. I think Bryan gets knocked down, and then it's Edge and Roman. They fight a bit back and forth. I think this is what happens. They run back and forth. They bounce off the ropes and hit each other with a colliding spears, which knocks both of them down. And then Bryan gets on the top rope and hits a flying headbutt onto Edge, hits a flying headbutt onto Roman, but it's only a two count. When he goes to pin Roman. Bryan then hits dueling yes kicks on them, I think. Bryan then gets taken to the... Roman then gains the upper hand. He gets Bryan on the outside and hits a powerbomb through the steel steps. But then I see he's on the steel steps. Hits a powerbomb through the announce table. The fans are booing the shit out of him for that, and throughout this entire match, they keep chanting "Roman sucks," but unlike other WrestleManias, they're supposed to do it this time, so it's good. So it's a good thing that they're doing that. But as Roman is yelling at the fans, Edge hits him with a spear off the steps, gets him back in. back in the ring, Edge. I might have gotten this a little bit out of order. I can talk about another. I'm not sure if this moment happens next or if it's later or it was earlier. But Edge goes for. Roman gets back in control. He hits Edge with a flying clothesline. Goes for the Superman punch, but Edge catches him, turns it into the execution. Goes in the corner to hit the spear, but Roman then counters it with the Superman punch. I think Edge is able to counter whatever Roman's doing. He then hits Roman with a. I think he then hits Roman with a spear. He hits Roman with a spear. But Bryan pulls the referee out at the last second before he can count the pinfall. Oh wait, I think what happened is he hits Bryan with a spear, he rolls to the outside, he hits Roman with a spear, but then Bryan pulls him out. At one point Bryan has the yes lock on, but Edge knocks him down for it. And is able to break it before Roman can tap out. And then later, Edge gets some chairs out because he's starting to get frustrated. I think Roman goes for another Superman punch, but Edge counters it, locks in a crossface on Roman. And then he gets a small piece of the chair and puts it in his mouth across. Mouth like some sort of horse thing. I'm not entirely sure what it's called, but he's just locked in like this. Roman looks like he's about to tap, but then Bryan stops his hand and locks in the yes lock. So Roman is just stuck between two submissions. But then Bryan and Edge start headbutting each other. But then Bryan wins that headbutt contest. He then says, "Oh, you got a bad neck," and starts stomping on Edge's head. He looks to go for the yes, and go for the running knee, but he gets countered. I think he gets countered by Edge. I think at this point Edge is furious. And gets absolutely furious. He gets a couple of chairs. He puts one chair under Bryan's head. Puts one chair on the Roman's head. He hits a concerto onto Bryan. He then goes to hit one on Roman, but then it's then attacked by Jey Uso. So Edge is able to counter Jey and knock him down. He gets a chair, beats the living tar out of Jey, but then he turns around into a spear from Roman Reigns. Roman gets a chair, puts it under Edge's head, hits a concerto of his own, puts Edge onto Bryan and covers both of them. 1, 2, 3, and still Universal Champion Roman Reigns. I wasn't a massive fan of the result. I was hoping for Edge to win. But the match itself was really damn good. Lots of good counters, lots of brutality, lots of great back and forth. I thought that was great. Was it better than Night 1's main event? I think so. I think I will overall say that the triple threat was my match of the night, even if I don't really agree with the winner. But I'm not against it. Roman Reigns is a fantastic heel champion. So if we want to continue to have him as champion, that's fine. I mean, we're not gonna have fans anymore. This was the final night of fans. We're going back to the Thunderdome now. That was that. Roman Reigns is still your Universal Champion, and that's what we end the night with. There's nothing else on the show, and we just go off the air and start the Broken Skull sessions with Chris Jericho right afterwards. Yeah. So that's night 2. My overall thoughts on night 2, well, it started bad. Like, the Fiend and Orton match was I really didn't like that match. The tag match, I didn't agree with the winner, but the match itself was fine. The matches in the middle were really good. The goods like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn was really good. Riddle and Sheamus was really good. The Nigerian drum fight was it was kind of short, but it had an interesting. But the ending had some nice implications of where we're going. But it felt short, and honestly, just what was the point of making a Nigerian drum fight other than just having Dabba Kato debut? Because when you think about it, if you just said street fight, you wouldn't have gotten anything different, honestly. Because the drums basically had no... There was no point. There was no point. Rhea and Asuka was fine. It was a good match. It stings. It really stings. I mean, I'm happy for Rhea, but I just wish she'd won the title off of someone else. Not Asuka at WrestleMania. And the main event was really damn good. I don't really agree with the winner, but whatever. I'm interested to see how Edge is going to handle this, because he went absolutely insane in this match. I was like, he was going absolutely crazy. So I'm interested to see how we're going to handle things going forward. Now, which night do I think was better? I think consistently, I would probably say night 1 was better. In consistency. In terms of consistency. If you want more concise thoughts on night 1, because I might have sounded a bit tired and not all that interested in my night 1 thoughts. But I will say that I think night 1 was overall a more solid show. Like, the only really bad-ish match was the Tag Turmoil, and even then it was only a bit sloppy. It wasn't overall terrible. I didn't hate that match, to put it that way. I hated the Fiend versus Randy Orton, and I wasn't a massive fan of the tag match. I think overall night 1 was a more solid show throughout. Well, but I think the match quality on night 2 might have been a slightly better overall. Although I'm not sure if but then again, I could say that the match quality the Raw Tag Team title match was a fun match. In terms of match quality, it wasn't all that much, and the Nigerian drum fight was really nothing, honestly, other than the finish was the only thing worth talking about, really. So, but I think overall I'm gonna say night 1 was a much more solid show. So, if I could recommend, but I would say overall WrestleMania 37 was a good show. Like, in terms of match quality, it was a good show. Certain booking decisions weren't all that for me, but overall it was a good show. Overall, I will say it was a good Mania. It was a good Mania. Although, if I can make a small request of WWE, I know people have said, "Oh, we want WrestleMania to be like this, a 2-night event." I don't. I would much rather we went back to 1 night. Because honestly, it's already tiring to stay off for WrestleMania. It's even worse when you have to do it for 2 nights in a row. It really screws up your sleep schedule, and I kind of had a headache during the day before WrestleMania. So I would much, much, much prefer if we just went back to one night, but make it short. Like, don't do WrestleMania 35 and have it be a fucking 7 or 8 hour show. Make it 4 hours. One night, 4 hours. That's all you need. People don't get their WrestleMania payday. Screw them. I genuinely don't think it matters. Matters because you need to remember people are just so tired. They're just going to be so tired if you keep doing that. So when we get to Texas next year, when we get to Dallas next year, make it a one night show, 4 hours. That's all you need. By then, I hope the pandemic is over and we can get back to normal, which is and I would prefer a 4 hour one night show. But, yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. But WrestleMania 37 was a good show. And, fun fact, it's the first WrestleMania that didn't involve Shawn Michaels, Triple H, or The Undertaker in any capacity. They weren't involved in a match. They weren't there as special guests. They weren't there at all. It's all to think about. But it truly is a different era. But, and by the way, since I talked about it, do I now think The Undertaker's retired? No, I still don't. I still think there will be a time when he comes back. When fans become regular, I think he will. I think he will come back. Even if it's for one night and for one match. Anyway, I don't know really what else to say really about WrestleMania. WrestleMania 37. I mean, overall, it was a really good. Overall, it was a really good. Worst match of the show, easily Fiend versus Randy Orton. I really didn't like that match. Best match, I think I gotta give that to the main event of night 2. I think overall, you go the Universal title match, the SmackDown Women's title match, and so on. And from there, yeah. But I think overall, night 1 was better, but it's overall a good show. There's a couple of there's 2 matches that aren't actually that good, and some underwhelming stuff. But overall, it's a good show. It's not a bad show, I will say that. The booking is a bit off in some areas, but overall, it's a good show. They've announced the next pay-per-view is Backlash. Am I gonna watch that? It's a month from now. I don't think so, but I'm not ruling it out either. So I might do Backlash. I might do Money in the Bank after that, but who knows? I haven't set anything in stone yet. So, but yeah. Next time you see me might be for Backlash, or you might not see any more wrestling videos from me until maybe SummerSlam. I don't know. It's all up to what WWE does. So, yeah. Until then, hopefully this video comes out much earlier. Hopefully my editing software does better with this one than it did the previous Thoughts video. And, yeah. Good night.